In this video, I'll be reviewing how to apply the prints that you have designed into Clo3D. And I'm just going to keep working with this file that I just completed to run through how to complete the segment sewing practice. And I need to go ahead and make sure I have my prints ready to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to Photoshop. And you'll see here that I have a repeat tile created. I have saved this by coming up to save as obviously right here, and saving it as a JPEG, okay, because I want to retain the appearance of everything here. I want the background color, so I want this tile in full. If I did not have these blue sections and I wanted to retain transparency, I could save it as a PNG. I also saved this file. Okay, this is one that I've created much more haphazardly. The repeat is not going to be as good. Okay, but I will bring both of these into Clo3D. And again, I saved this one as a JPEG. I've placed both of them in the same Clo folder that I've been using for the practice assignments. If you already had Clo open and you, again, saved them to the same folder, but you're not seeing them here, just make sure you hit this little button to refresh your folder and they should populate. Okay. Now the first thing I'm going to play with here is this cactus, and I want to apply it to all of the red fabric. I can do that, and actually let me step back for just a moment. There are several ways to apply your prints into Clo, and this is one of them. So what I can do is I'll go ahead and just drag over my cactus print, and I can drop it onto any one of the red pieces, because when I use this technique, it's going to apply it uniformly to all of the red fabric. And it's going to ask me what I want to do, and I will say yes, I want to apply it as a texture, because remember, a print it's referred to as a texture in this program. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and I'll just close my library for a moment. And you're going to see that this is obviously present, but it doesn't look right. Okay, this red fabric a moment ago was more solid. It did have some variations, but it essentially was solid. You can see my print, but the red is being mixed in with it. And I can clean that up by coming over to my property editor. Oh, I didn't mean to zoom that in. And actually, let me open my object browser as well. And in my object browser, you're going to see the two fabrics that were already assigned to this garment. And I had applied again the print over this red jersey. And I need to make some edits to this. So again, I would do that in my property editor. And if I scroll to the top here, you'll see again, this is a little bit of a review from last week. One of Ms. Duda's videos today goes over some of this, but I'm just going to do it to make it absolutely clear what you should be doing. And I'll scroll down a little bit and you'll see I have three options for my material. I have front, back, and side. Obviously, I'm applying this to the front because we want to be able to see it. My texture is being applied here, okay, but it doesn't look right. Okay, I can't see the green as clearly, the color's muted. So I'm going to open up that texture and you're going to see that this option for desaturation is turned on. And I don't want that turned on, okay? If it's turned on, it's going to suck the color out of my print. And again, I can't see the green and the pink and the blue. So when I turn that off, my texture here looks correct. It's starting to look better here on my garment, okay? But the other thing I need to change here is this color, okay? So basically what's happening is the fabric was red and this is being printed on top. I would normally be printing on a white fabric, so I will open up my color panel, I will select white and hit OK, and you'll see immediately that my print now looks the way I expected it to, okay? And actually for sort of a kitschy, sort of maybe even very youthful kind of print, this looks cuter than I expected, okay? Now, the thing I want to sort of point out here is that the print is very clearly applied correctly on the top. It was cut correctly and it was sewn correctly. Everything's the way I expected, okay? If I pan down to my pants, you're going to see that my pants are upside down, okay? And that is something that we can adjust if we use the correct tool, okay? And in this case, it's going to be, and I forgot the name of this, my edit texture, obviously, makes sense. So I'll go ahead and turn that tool on, and I need to be on a pattern piece. Okay, and I'll go ahead and use this one. And let me see if I can do more than once. Yes. And I'll grab this and this. And I held shift the whole time. And I can rotate this here. So I'm going to hold shift to make sure I constrain this. Okay. This is obviously the mirror of where it was at the top right. Now it's at the bottom left. I'll let go. I'm going to go ahead and just click off. And if I zoom in, okay, you'll see very clearly that my print is now correct, except now it's opposite on the top. So let me try this again. I will just go ahead and select my top. I'm going to rotate. Ooh, and it's rotating everything. Okay, that is not what I want. So what I can do here is I'm going to change from simulation, and I'm going to come over here to my print layout. I'm going to put myself in another mode. Okay, let me close my library to give me a little bit more room. I'll put myself on the jersey fabric. Okay, and you'll see here it's coming down the way my pattern pieces are laid out on my roll of fabric. So these are right side up. Okay, these pieces are upside down. These pieces are upside down. So let me try to select these pieces. I'm going to click off. I'll click this one and this one. I will use my rotate. And I'm going to hold shift again to try to constrain the proportions. So that one will be correct. I'll click off, and I'll select this one and this one. Same thing, I will rotate and I'm going to hold shift. Ooh, for some reason this feels very strange. I'll let go. Okay, perfect. I'm going to go ahead and put myself back in simulation mode. Zoom in, everything is correct. My top is correct. Okay, all right, so that was my cactus print. And again, I did this using my library. I dragged my print on top of my red fabric, okay? Now I am going to actually, let me reset a little bit. Okay, I'll go ahead and hit the 2 to get her in focus. I'm going to go ahead and hit the close parentheses to bring my pattern pieces up, make that easier to see. Okay, and now that I have a little bit of room again, actually I want a little more room, let me shrink my object browser and property editor, and I will open my library once more. And again, I have another print here. And this time I'm going to go ahead and just drag it over to my object browser and drop it. I'll close my library. Okay, and in this instance, you're going to see I have a new fabric. And if I scroll to the top, I can see information related to it. And Clo's not going to have a lot of information for this because essentially it's just a print. So I can come in here, again, make sure you're on the front, and I can assign it some different values. I can say what kind of fabric this is supposed to be, using some of the defaults here. There's no normal match, no normal map attached to this. So Clo doesn't understand what this is. Is this a corduroy, something that's going to have texture? Is this a flat knit? Whatever the case may be, I need to assign some values to this. And so I can do so under library. I will go actually, let's see what I want to use here. I will go to my Clo academic training and actually just grab some materials here. And I'm not going to take too much time here. I'll just go ahead and assign it to corduroy just to give it some texture so you'll see that that is present. Okay, I'll close this. And again, so in terms of color and rendering and the way it just essentially looks, it's much more obvious here. It's clean. I don't have to work with the saturation and the color, but I do have to come in here and assign some values because essentially there's no fabric value to this. And so again, you know, I'm going to leave this as a fabric mat. I've attached a normal map to it. I've got the texture here. And from here, what I can do is just simply drag, and I can work singly. So I can just drag this over to pattern pieces. Okay. In this case, I will go ahead and assign it to essentially all of this pink jersey that I have. Okay. I can come over here and zoom in on it. And I'll just rotate. Okay. And if I get really close to this, you can see the texture of the corduroy. Okay, obviously that is a really inappropriate fabric for this kind of garment, but I wanted to ensure that you had, again, just a little bit more exposure to fabrics. If you have not watched the videos today where Ms. Duda goes over fabric and materials, again, this will be a useful review for you, and some of that will definitely be new. Okay. Now, because I have placed this print on small sections, I'm not actually seeing where my repeat is a problem. I did create this particular print to not repeat correctly. Again, because it's this sort of splatter, it will very closely resemble the example I put on Blackboard, the announcement where you can just see that line running through the splatter paint where the tiles come together. And that would be the effect that I would be getting here if I had reversed my prints and put this perhaps on these larger pattern pieces. Okay, but for the time being, I just want to ensure again that you knew how to bring your own prints into Clo, that you understood the different techniques for doing so, and I will go ahead and leave it there for now.